Hey guys, Rumbly Supersite here, bringing you an advanced tutorial on the hero with the meanest right hook in Strike of Kings, Raz. Like any other hero in Strike of Kings, in order to utilize Raz to his maximum potential, knowing how his abilities work is the first step in paving your way to victory. Let's go ahead and take a look at what exactly this hero can do. Before we dive into his abilities, keep in mind, while many heroes are dependent on using mana as their primary resource, Raz uses a completely unique type known as Energy. Energy will restore itself far quicker than that of mana, but will never exceed a maximum of 200 total energy at any given time. This in turn emphasizes on the need to land abilities to replenish quicker in the heat of battle. Raz's passive is Fancy Footwork. With every second and third consecutive basic attack, Raz will move himself closer to his target. On the third attack, Raz will also do extra magic damage while knocking back and stunning any enemies in his path. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and go into his first ability known as Rising Uppercut. Costing 70 energy, Raz unleashes a powerful uppercut doing magic damage to enemies within range, knocking them into the air, while also restoring 25 energy for all enemies hit with this ability. Unlike Raz's passive, Rising Uppercut can be upgraded a total of 6 times during a match, increasing its damage output while also reducing its cooldown time by nearly 40% at level 6. I know, it's getting juicy, but there's even more this dude can do. Raz's second ability is Power Surge. Costing 40 energy, Raz launches a projectile from his fist that deals magic damage to enemies in its path, while briefly reducing their magic defense and movement speed, and restoring 25 energy if the ability hits an enemy. Just like Rising Uppercut, Power Surge can be upgraded a total of 6 times during a match, increasing its damage output, reducing its cooldown time from 4 seconds to 2 seconds. Its movement speed reduction is increased from 40% to 80%, while its magic defense reduction is increased from 50 to 300. And finally, we move into Raz's ultimate ability, known as Explosive KO. Costing 110 energy, Raz throws an extremely powerful punch, dealing magic damage to enemies in its path, while knocking them back and reducing their attack damage for 2.5 seconds. This will then restore 25 energy if the ability hits an enemy. Unlike Rising Uppercut and Power Surge, Explosive KO can only be upgraded a total of 3 times during a match, increasing its base damage, reducing its cooldown time from 25 to 20 seconds, and increasing the attack damage decrease from 20% to 30%. Alright, now that we have a basic understanding of Raz's abilities, let's talk about how our Arcana can dramatically affect which item builds we want to pursue. Whether you want to be a portable backline motor, launching Power Surge and kiting your enemies to oblivion to whittle down your foes, or a frontline commando, disrupting team fights, leading your team closer to victory with every single battle, the Arcana you choose can be a versatile tool for you to mold the hero how you want. Now, if you're gearing toward a more tactical mage approach, dishing out damage while keeping your distance and only to go in when the opportunity presents itself, grabbing Arcana such as Violate, which helps to pump out more damage, or Sap and Consume, allowing you to sustain better in the heat of battle, can be a great asset to help achieve this playstyle. On the other hand, if you are more of a do-it-himself assassin kind of guy, wanting to initiate fights by diving in headfirst with Uppercut, and finishing off your enemies with Explosive KO, grabbing more pure ability power based Arcana such as Devour, Enlighten, and Hex will allow you to burst down your enemies before they can even react. Now that we've figured out how to set up our Arcana for particular roles such as Mage or Assassin for Raz, let's go ahead and go into the item builds that help further customize these roles. So how I build Raz's Mage role is I generally start off with an Orb of Magi. With its early game passives such as Bide and From the Ashes, not only will I have an ample amount of ability power with some nice cooldown speed, but also have amazing sustain with the additional 800 health from max bide stacks, as well as have 20% of my health and mana be restored every time I level. My second item is Hermes Select. This provides me with a decent amount of damage mitigation across the board, while giving me a nice boost of speed when leaving combat. The third item is Rhea's Blessing. Like Orb of Magi, it will provide me a nice amount of ability power and cooldown speed. The item will also further increase my survivability as it grants a barrier that scales with my level and total ability power when I fall below 40% health. On top of this, I will have a very appreciated 25% magic lifesteal. Because I like to harass with Power Surge, I tend to get Boomstick as my fourth item, as it further increases my ability power and makes my single target Power Surge into an AoE splash ability, doing damage to any enemies near the target I hit. Now, all these items are great and all, but one thing it currently lacks is the means to burn through defensive heroes effectively, and that is why I pick up Barroth's Agony. Being able to burn through 4% of a target's health every time I attack a target is great for whittling down those pesky tanks. My final item and biggest power spike of this build is Hecate's Diadem. Not only does it provide a good base amount of ability power, but it also increases my total ability power by a whopping 35%, as well as an amazing 75 magic pierce. As far as building as an assassin, items are somewhat similar with the exception of a few. When building into this particular role, Barroth's Agony would be replaced simply due to the fact that our focus is geared towards killing enemies with lower base health and defense. This would allow us to pick up Soaring Aura, enabling us to disregard a large amount of magic defense, pushing our damage to its absolute peak effectiveness, while also providing a bit more health to help survive during our engagements. An alternative to Soaring Aura would be Holy of Holies. Having the most ability power for a single item in the magic tree, Holy of Holies would synergize perfectly with Hecate's Diadem with its 35% total ability power increase, giving us one hell of a right hook. As far as talents, while there are quite a few that could work depending on your playstyle, such as Execute or Heal, I tend to pick up Flicker as it's proven time and time again as a great means to position myself for a kill or avoid situations that would ultimately mean me being killed. Phew. Alright, we finally got to the best part of this video, the combos and general strategies. For simplicity, we will be referring to our abilities as A, B, and C respectively. Our first combo, being the most generic and straightforward, is the BAC combo. A slow target is a dead target, so to speak. Using Power Surge first will slow your enemies while dishing out a decent amount of damage, allowing you to easily follow up with your uppercut and then finish them off with your explosive KO. The ACB combo excludes the first Power Surge for heroes that have high mobility. When coming across agile heroes, sometimes it may prove too difficult to land your Power Surge, and therefore starting with uppercut guarantees the hero will be immobilized upon engagement. One thing to keep in mind is Raz is by far one of the most agile heroes in game, so utilizing this properly can really turn a fight in your favor. Another strong element to Raz's kit is his sheer amount of crowd control, such as stuns, slows, and displacement. Even when faced with impending death, playing around your environment while keeping enemies controlled can completely turn the fight around. One final note, to maximize damage or effectively control enemies, in most cases it's recommended that you are using your passive fancy footwork in between the cooldowns of your abilities. Alright, so now that we're actually in a ranked match, let's go ahead and talk about pretty much everything we already went over, but we're going to do it while we go through the actual match itself so we can explain in more detail what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're thinking about, this situation. Are we going to adapt our build? Are we going to use this strategy? Are we going to, help this lane or do whatever we're going to do, and we're going to explain it. So, first off, we have our team composition. We have Raz, Kresh, Violet, Xanis, and Valheim. While we don't necessarily have the most ideal composition, we don't have a mage, like a primary mage. I'm a secondary mage, so we do have that split damage, but I'm not necessarily played in the same fashion of a mage in general. We're a little bit different than, like, say, Vera. Vera is more of a backliner who just constantly shoots out spells, whereas I'm kind of a mixture, a hybrid, if you will, where I go in and out doing, a lot of disruption or, sitting in the back line throwing out my power surge. It's a little bit different. But anyways, so rule of thumb is even if you don't have the ideal composition, which is tank, mage, ADC, secondary, tank or warrior, and then maybe an assassin. That's like the ideal situation. If you don't have that, the most general mindset can be is, do you have good damage and do you have good control, sustain for your team, i.e. tank or support? And if that's yes to both of them, then you should be okay. In most cases. Until maybe you get to like extremely high elo, then at that case, at that time you may even have a team or have a better understanding as far as the full team, those knowing what to do. But in general, that's what you want to kind of think about. Good damage and good sustain support. You're good to go. Anyways, first item, we definitely go with the more offensive item, which gives us 40 ability power. This allows us to go ahead and build into our Phoenix tier as well. Phoenix tier is, as we mentioned in the tutorial side of this video, a great means to sustain throughout the game. So in situations like I have right now, picking up the Phoenix tier, as we can see here, is going to be a great item for me because I'm being harassed, I'm being pushed into my tower, so I'm going to be taking damage constantly. Like I just took like almost half my health there. But because I have that Phoenix tier, once I level up here in a second, you're going to see my health just skyrocket. So there we go. We see a bunch of healing going down. I'm getting a bunch of it back, and now I can be sustained in lane without having to go back and get all my farm, get the experience I need, get the gold I need without having to go back and waste time. That's why Phoenix tier is great. Orb of Magi, if you will, as your first tier 3 item. Yeah, so that is the first item I go towards. As far as point allocation for abilities, I tend to go with my B, which is Power Surge first. I like to have that for the early game poke, harass, if you will, allowing myself to do damage from afar while not putting myself in harm's way. And I get level 2 fairly quickly anyways, which gives me my uppercut fairly soon in the match regardless. And speaking of leveling up, a great way to level up effectively if you're not being pushed into tower, by the way. This is more so if you're on the opposite end. If you're pushing into the enemy, into their tower, you want to take advantage of that and take the turtle in the lane, or in the river. That helps accelerate your gold and your EXP in early game. Late game, it's not as important, but early game, you definitely want to grab that turtle. And definitely don't miss uppercuts like that. Jesus, probably. Freaking land your abilities, man. Which leads me on to another thing. Land your abilities. Unlike I did just a second ago. But yeah, so that is really important too. Even, getting that minion node right there to the top left of the tower in the jungle can help accelerate the gold experience in the same manner. And so if you have the time, definitely pick that up too. If you don't really have a jungle who is like designated to do so, then getting that minion would be really nice too. Okay, let's kind of go into why did I choose bot lane though. So bot lane, I chose bot lane simply because of the fact that I don't like to have to deal with two sides of being ganked on. So middle lane, while I can do it, I don't like the uncertainty of where are they going to come from. Are they going to gank me from the left or from the right? Whereas bot lane, all I have to worry about is, are they coming from the left-hand side? And also, I tend to like to play with a secondary player that has a lot of control, say for instance Crash, because combined we have a lot of ability to, just control an entire fight and put it in our favor, especially with things like Crashed and myself combined, because it's a stun after stun after stun, displacement, displacement, displacement. It's just a lot of means to do a lot of work while the enemy just suffers. And that's why I like bot lane for Raz. He can be even a good jungler too. He has pretty good clear time, and he would have really good gank potential. So if you want to go jungle, you can do that, but you're going to have to adjust your build accordingly, because you're probably going to want to pick up a jungle item, which helps, level you up faster throughout the match, getting those jungle minions, because there aren't as many minions in the jungle. So you want to have those items to help get you that more experience and gold and so on and so forth. Here I use my ultimate as a defensive ability. Yeah, I got a kill, but really I was trying to sacrifice myself for the Violet so she can get away. I feel like ADCs are a little heavier in damage and a little bit more volatile when it comes to getting a lot of damage out. And so if she can get fed and not die constantly, that's good for our team. So definitely that's something to consider too. Sometimes sacrificing yourself for the better good is for the better good. So we talked about Turtle, also in the river. So we're talking about early game for now, early to mid game. You want to be picking up the Abyssal Dragon because it's going to give you a lot of experience and gold team-wide. So the whole team benefits from that. So you definitely want to do that. It also gives you a good amount of health and mana regen as well. So if you're down, then you're going to want to pick that up too. So like right now, we just killed off one of their enemies in the bot lane. Mid lane has, Omar there, and then Yorn and Tara up top. So a lot of them are preoccupied. So this is a great and safe means to pick up the Abyssal Dragon and get that team-wide experience and gold for the team itself. Definitely want to do that. Objectives are sometimes more important than kills themselves or pushing a tower. Those other objectives are definitely beneficial in their own right. Their buffs that they provide are amazing, or just the benefits in general. As far as the Dark Slayer, that's more mid to late game. You don't really want to be fighting that unless you're equipped to do so. I think Kriknak is one that can solo him pretty effectively with the cooldown build. But even still, you want to do that as a team so you can get it down quicker, because he does go down pretty slow if it's just by yourself. But yeah, that's kind of mid to late game. Mechanics, definitely know how to function as a hero, how to use your abilities. I mean, the controls in this game are really, really easy. I mean, it's nothing too crazy by any means. I mean, Vainglory itself, you guys know I play Vainglory, and those controls are a lot harder to play from a newer player standpoint, whereas this game is a lot more user-friendly for new players and, even, veteran players alike. So that's definitely a perk to this game, is you have easy controls that are definitely, made for the mobile platform. Because, with Vainglory, I can play on a tablet just fine, like this, but I cannot sit back and play on my phone like that. It just does not work for me. Whereas this game, I can do this, I can lay down, I can be on my face, The controls, they work just fine. They're amazing. While, there might be some different disparities as far as, what you're used to, and you're still getting accustomed to it, you might have a hard time targeting an enemy. But in most cases, once you get a few games in, it's going to be really easy to kind of figure it out and use the controls. And 99% of the time, I would say even 100% of the time at this point, I have no issues with targeting what I want to target or doing what I want to do. And even if you had a difficulty, there are options available to you that even further enhance those controls in game. You just go to the settings, you enable it, and now you can select different heroes specifically if you wanted to. So they've really, really developed a system to where it really benefits the player who are, players who are new and old alike. But yeah, see what else. I mean, and not just that, but I mean, you're getting pretty much a PC MOBA in your pocket. You can play the game anywhere you go, and it only takes 10 minutes to play. I mean, there's other MOBAs that are, 40 minutes per match, and that's insane. And on a mobile platform, it just is not going to fly. And so that's why I love this game, because, I like to have fun, 10-minute bursts of entertainment and then get into the next match. It feels a lot more satisfying. I don't know. It's just a personal thing. I feel more satisfied when I get more matches in a single sitting, and that's kind of why I like this. 10-minute matches, and you can play anywhere. I literally can, go to a party. I'm 30 years old. I don't go to parties anymore. Who am I kidding? But when I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, and if this game was out, I would just totally pull it out, while everybody's getting drunk, and I'm like, the DD or whatever. I can, pull up my phone and just play this game while I'm waiting for everybody to go home. That'd be amazing, dude. Back then, I didn't have that. So, I was kind of just bored out of my mind if I was a DD. If I wasn't the DD, then I wasn't bored out of my mind. I was just out of my mind. But anyway, so, kind of getting derailed from the topic here. And not just that, but another amazing thing to consider is no other MOBA has DC heroes that I can think of, and this is the one that I can think of that does. It has Batman, it has Joker coming already, Superman I've seen already. That's kind of being tested in the the testing servers. So you're going to have Batman vs. Superman not just in theaters, but you're going to have it in Arena of Valor too, which leads me on to the next thing. If you guys didn't know, Strike of Kings has been renamed Arena of Valor. So definitely I want to reiterate that. I did a video on it, but if you missed that, then and you're wondering what the heck is Arena of Valor and why does it look like Strike of Kings? Well, it's because Strike of Kings, which is the EU region of this game, was renamed officially and now set in stone as Arena of Valor come the August 10th release date, which you guys should be seeing this around that time. That's when it should be known as Arena of Valor. So definitely look out for that change. And I personally like it better. I mean, I like the name change because I liked Realm of Valor, and they got rid of that and went with Strike of King. And I was like, Strike of Kings is cool too, but I liked Realm of Valor a lot. And now they brought it back with a little bit of a change, so Arena of Valor. But hey, whatever. Anyways, back to the game. We're trying to teach you, not just talk about little random stuff. One thing to note too is communication is key, and in many factors too. Doing your pings, that's really important for like indicating when you want to do objectives. Using voice chat if you need to kind of communicate a little more properly. Right now, I don't really use it because I'm not from Turkey. I don't really speak the language, so I kind of leave that off. But for those who are going to be in the EU, and you know, I think a lot of English speakers are going to be coming into the game because of the global release in EU specifically. That's going to really help with you know, not just in the current match, but you know, getting to know players and using that social interaction, that social aspect of the game to build teams and get new friends and, you know, work together to go through the ranks. So definitely utilize the social aspects of the game because it not just helps you in game or in match, but also out of match. So that's really, really important. You definitely want to use that feature. I tend to use pings myself when it permits. So if I'm going for an objective, I'll ping it. If I do really, really bad, I'll ping myself. Put a question mark next to myself, like what am I doing? Things like that. Yeah. Next thing. So I'm kind of not really going with the footage, so hopefully you guys can just use it as a means of entertainment. But I want to talk about like item builds and how do we adapt throughout the match. And obviously we have a preset order. We have our custom builds. You know, I have, you know, my Orb of Magi, then it goes into Rhea's Blessing, and then it goes into Boomstick, Barris Agony, and so on and so forth, right? Well, a lot of times you don't want to just stick to that. That's a misconception, that people think that these builds are set in stone and you're not supposed to deviate from it. That's how this game is played. That is incorrect. In the high level ELO, and any MOBA for that matter, you're going to want to have to adapt your build accordingly. So for instance, if you're going to have a, you know, say for instance, the Violet in the enemy team. Is there one? There's a Yorn. So if the Yorn in the enemy team gets really, really fed and can do really, really well and starts to kill everybody, you're going to want to pick up armor if you haven't already. And that might mean you might have to change the order of your items. Because like I might have to get Barris Agony, which gives me armor. I might have to get that a little bit earlier so I can go ahead and survive these hits from the AD carry. Or, you know, potentially go into a whole new item, going into items like, I'm trying to think of one right on the top of my head, but just going to items that have a lot of armor and a lot of health. Or, you know, going to Mail of Pain to have a bunch of armor and reflect. Things like that are going to really help with sustaining. And then if need be, once you get really fed, which I don't suggest, but, you know, potentially if you want to go back to your original build, you can sell the Mail of Pain and get your original build going. But generally, I would say don't sell your items. Once you commit, then commit. You know, it's not effective with your money, unless you're like already like so late in game that you have an abundance of money. Then I wouldn't suggest it. So item priority based on the game itself. So factors to consider is who is the carry, like literally who is carrying in their team. Is it the mages? Is it the ADC? Is it the tank? Which in some cases could be the case. Then you're going to want to build your items accordingly. So if it's a mage, you know, getting items like... my head just went blank. But, you know, getting items that help that situation is definitely, you know, in the... something you want to do, something you definitely want to build towards. You're going to want to get items that really help against those carries that are taking you out. You're going to want to get items such as, I'm looking it up right now, Uriel's Brand. I could not think of it. That was bothering me. So, you know, if you're going against a mage, getting Uriel's Brand, so it gives you that barrier, gives you that, you know, that barrier against magic damage specifically, and gives you that magic resist. And this really, really helps with, you know, the overall encompassing factor of the match where you're dying and you need to survive. So get defense appropriately. You know, just getting that magic resist, get that armor, you know, get the ability to peel through tanks who are carrying you, which is weird, but if that does happen, then you want to build accordingly. Yeah, so, you know, that stuff's really, really important to consider while you're building your hero. Don't just stick to custom builds, stick to what is the match and build accordingly. Also, you know, this kind of draft mode is coming, guys, so this is going to be it's going to be a lot more relevant come draft mode, is your talents. So like Flicker, or you're getting Disrupts, or whatever it is you're getting, you're going to want to get those talents in accordance to the draft. So if you're going to have a lot of, say for instance, CC in the enemy team, and you can't pick up Chognard to negate that CC, you're going to want to probably pick up, you know, Endure, or, you know, Purify, one of those. You're going to want to pick it up, because you're going to have a hard time, you know, outside of that. So unless you can pick up a tank that has a lot of control and have maybe a secondary tank that can build on that control, then you might need to go ahead and go with your normal Flicker, or go more aggressively with Execute. That kind of stuff can be gauged just like items. You know, go according to the match. In this case, go according to the match composition. Talents are a lifesaver, or, you know, a means to get that penta that you want. You know, I still want to see an Execute that just does damage to everybody, and then everybody dies. Gets a penta. Like, no one's dead yet, but everybody's so low that you just pop Execute and you get a penta. That'd be so cool. But anyways, we're getting derailed here again. See what else? Combos. So we have combos. Combos are obviously in every kit something that's really important. You want to synergize your abilities together, not just synergize with your teammates, but synergize your own self with yourself as far as abilities. So again, we had the two combos, which was the ACB combo, which is Uppercut, Explosive KO into a Power Surge. That allows you to instantaneously control the person of interest, the enemy, the target, if you will, with the uppercut, displacing them with your ultimate, and then following up with the B to slow. Example, but not missing the B. So that's a great combo. Another combo is your BAC combo. So you start off with a Power Surge, do your uppercut, and your ultimate. Well, okay, I didn't do ultimate right there, but I mean, in general, that's what you want to do. I didn't have enough energy to do the ultimate, unfortunately, in that situation. Which kind of leads me into using that factor of replenishing your energy through the passive that you have. So every time you land one of your abilities, you replenish energy. So you definitely want to utilize that. You don't want to miss too much, because that puts you behind as far as energy, and puts your cooldowns down, disabling you to do anything really of that value. So you want to hit with those abilities. That way you can follow up with other abilities and have sufficient energy to do so. But there we go. And that is it for my advanced tutorial on Raz the Fist. Hopefully this will help break down his higher difficulty curve while helping you dominate your enemies pound for pound, and someday taking that #1 championship title. Later!